Hello, good afternoon. I am Jennifer Walker-Gates with Walker-Gates Vela. I'm here this afternoon with my partner, Chito Vela. Hey, Chito.
Hi.
We are here this afternoon to talk about criminal defense for immigrants and non-citizens. And before we get started, I want you to take your little finger and wiggle it and then hit that subscribe button down below, because we are doing a whole series on this topic with today some very general but super important information about how to handle a criminal defense case, and then going forward, specific types of cases and alternative pleas that immigrants might consider if they are facing a case like that will help minimize immigration consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So hit subscribe. And Chito, let's talk right now about what you know as a criminal defense and immigration practitioner. What is most important for an immigrant or a non-citizen to know if they're facing a criminal charge?
Well, what you need to know is what is the immigration impact or the potential immigration impact of a conviction in this case. Is this something where I can plead guilty and it's not going to hurt my legal permanent residency? It's not going to hurt my ability to become a U.S. citizen. It's not going to hurt my ability to potentially become a legal permanent resident. Or is this a kind of case that is going to block me from being able to become a legal permanent resident, from being able to become a U.S. citizen? Is this a kind of case that could potentially get me deported? You have to know that before you make any kind of decision about, I'm going to plead guilty, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If you don't know that information, if your criminal defense attorney has not told you, hey, this is what it could do or could not do or will do or whatever to your legal permanent resident status, then you need to know that. That's information that you absolutely need to know before making any kind of decision in a criminal case.
Wait, are you saying that an individual with a criminal charge has to make a decision about what they will accept in terms of a guilty plea or charge?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think the most important element there is that sometimes there are options. I know that you get arrested for a charge, and then there's usually some kind of offer made by the prosecutor, but that's not necessarily the last word in the case. You can work with that prosecutor. You can present them evidence and letters and background material and let them know what's going on and say, hey, instead of this conviction, instead we do this other conviction that's going to, basically have the same effect. They're going to get, the supervision that they feel they need on you, or they're going to punish you like enough to where they feel kind of happy that they've really made you pay for the crime, but it's not going to get you deported. That is just a crucial distinction, and you've got to be aware of that when you're dealing with the prosecutors. Your criminal defense attorney needs to be working on that and negotiating with them. Aware of the goal. And Jennifer, how many cases have we done like that, where Jennifer will be like, my client who's in the middle of getting his legal permanent residency just got arrested for this thing. Can you make sure it?
Yes, exactly. Yes, that is something that I have leaned on you for a lot, and I think it brings up another super important point. So all of y'all who are watching, this is super duper important. If you get arrested and you have a criminal defense attorney who is not an immigration expert, then your criminal defense attorney needs to send you to see an immigration attorney. Am I right, Chito?
Absolutely. I handle criminal defense cases of all types. And the vast majority of my clients, 90%, 95% of my clients are immigrants, or potential immigrants, who I'm working with them to make sure that whatever plea we structure is not going to affect their immigration status. Or for that matter, another important thing to know is that if they're not going for it, if the prosecutor's just like, no deal, no nothing, we're going to get this conviction, that's just too bad for you, then you're going to have to take that to trial. I've done that many times where, the prosecutor's not giving me what I want, and you don't just roll over and be like, oh, well, too bad, take it to trial. You have nothing to lose at that point. Sometimes you get a good, jury. Sometimes weird things happen right before trial where all of a sudden you get the deal you want. You have to be willing to push the case and to fight it and to fight it. And then, hopefully you get a little luck at the end and it goes your way. But in addition to the criminal defense cases that I handle directly, I often work with other criminal defense attorneys who will reach out to me and say, hey, I've got a legal permanent resident and I'm not sure what to do with this case. Hey, I've got somebody who is married to a U.S. citizen and wants to start the process, but now he's picked up this charge and I'm not sure what to do with that case. And so they bring me on board and I will advise them.
Yes.
We'll do the interview with the client.
Those advisors are another super, super duper important point. It's an additional expense a lot of times for a criminal defendant, but so critical. Like I've seen so many cases where, like you said, a prosecutor is hell bent on getting a conviction for example, possession of controlled substance.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a U.S. citizen facing a possession of controlled substance and the charge has been reduced from 5 pounds of cocaine to like 1 gram of cocaine, then that's a great deal for that U.S. citizen. But if that person is not a U.S. citizen yet, that is a shit deal that will get that person deported. And so that is not an acceptable arrangement. Now, what we've done in a number of cases is say, hey, how about we restructure this? Here's what's going to happen to this individual if they accept your plea, prosecutor. Here's because of their immigration status, this is what's going to happen to get them. They're going to be banished from the United States. They're going to be separated from the only family they have. They're going to be sent to a country they haven't known since they were a child. Whatever the consequences are going to be to them, we outline that very carefully. And then we say, how about it instead a conviction for possession of dangerous substance, right? That is in the health and safety code. It carries some penalties very similar to what a controlled substance would be, but a dangerous substance is not outlined in the federal law and the immigration law as a serious deportable offense. So that's one example where a prosecutor can get what they need and the immigrant can get what they need. And so
that's absolutely right. And a lot of times in those letters, they're really compelling to the prosecutors.
That's right.
When they're getting this kind of a third party objective opinion, and it's a really good, like sophisticated kind of legal memo format that we'll use after interviewing the client, after talking with the prosecutor about the case, where we're saying like, hey, look, these are the consequences. These are some options. There's option A, we could do this. Option B, we could do this. To where, again, the prosecutors feels like they're walking away having done justice, and the immigrant the client is able to continue their life in the United States, happily and healthily.
And a lot of times prosecutors have no idea what the immigration consequences are going to be of a conviction. So they think like, look, I already reduced this charge for you. Like I've already given so much. Like, why will you not accept this? And then they get a memo that says, look, here's what the immigration law says. Under the immigration law, once you commit a crime like that, there's no statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Right? Under the immigration law, unlike the criminal law, that charge, that conviction never goes away. That's on your record forever. And the consequences and penalties can last forever.
Yeah.
You can be banished forever from this country. And so when a prosecutor really begins to understand that, a lot of times that will help them make a different decision if they are presented with some alternatives.
So many times, what is a good deal for a U.S. citizen that will result in a final dismissal of the case for the U.S. citizen, and they can go on about with their lives. It's not the same with immigrants. The immigration courts have a different view of what is considered a final conviction in a case than your prosecutors do, than your normal person does. And so that's another one where you're a criminal defense attorney. There was a very important a case in 2010 where the U.S. Supreme Court said that it is the obligation of the criminal defense attorney to advise their client of potential immigration consequences of a plea. And if they do not do that, then that is not a voluntary plea, and that case could potentially be, reopened and thrown out. So nowadays that applies. That was in 2010, and most people are aware of that. But just make sure that your criminal defense attorney understands that they have to advise you of how is this going to affect my immigration status or my potential immigration status. You've got to know that before you enter any kind of plea, before you plead guilty to anything.
Yes. So, Chito, if people want to get a hold of you, if people are facing a criminal charge and they need immigration expertise or they need criminal defense with their immigration status or their future immigration goals in mind, how can they reach you? How can they get help from you?
So call the office, 512-633-1785, and we can set up a consultation immediately. Feel free to email me, chito.v@walkergatesvela, or go on to the website, and there's a form there where you can enter, and we will get that, and we will contact you and follow up multiple ways. But just make sure and reach out and let me talk to you about the case. You bring me on board, let me work with your criminal defense attorney. And like I said, so many times we can structure a deal that will save your legal residency in the United States or preserve the ability to become a legal resident. There's so many people that we've done that with over the years. And it's always, everybody really deserves a second chance. So many, young immigrants, legal permanent residents, a tiny amount of cocaine or pills or, those kinds of things like that, marijuana. Also, everybody thinks it's legal, but it's not. Not in Texas and not
under the federal immigration law either.
That's right. I can't tell you how many young kids are like, they're like, oh my God, I can get deported for having marijuana? No way. And yes, I know that's not what people feel nowadays, but it's true. So even when a charge that you think, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just a misdemeanor marijuana charge, it's no big deal. If you're an immigrant, it is a big deal. And you need to know what's going on. Don't just plead guilty to that for, one day in prison. Oh, I didn't have to do anything. I got away. Oh man, that charge can come back 10 years later and ruin your life. So make sure and reach out. I'm primarily responsible for all this side of the law practice, and I'm happy to help.
Great, thank you so much, Chito. Again, subscribe. We're going to be talking about this for the next few weeks, talking about specific types of charges and specific types of cases that are very common for our clients, and how exactly we recommend that an immigrant deal with that kind of situation, at least if you're in Texas. So those kinds of recommendations may apply in many other states though. So definitely hit subscribe and reach out to us if we can help with anything at walkergatesvela.com, and we'll be happy to do what we can, keep our families together and keep our community here and safe. Absolutely. We're on Twitter and Facebook. Feel free to reach out to us on those platforms as well. If that's easier, we'll connect, and we're here to help, and we're happy to serve the immigrant community. Awesome. Thank you, Chito, for being here. I will talk to you soon. Thank you, Jennifer.